Welcome back to the show. I love that guitar riff, by the way, that we got going for us. Well, why don't we start with our political potluck party? Now, you're probably asking, what the heck is political potluck? Well, basically, the four of us said, these are stories that we individually want to talk about, and we'll go around the table. So, age before beauty, of course, Catherine. Actually, it's the other way around.
I think in this case, it's definitely the other way around.
Yeah, 27, 26.
Not that old either.
I was more focused on the beauty part, but hey, that's,
That's creepy. So, Catherine.
Yes.
What is your political potluck story?
I want to talk about Mike Huckabee saying that it's unprofessional, it's trashy to swear in the workplace, basically, especially if women say it. He said, in New York, not only the men do it, but the women do it. And I was kind of disappointed to see how many people were trying to actually come out and defend him, even conservatives. Like, well, he said it wasn't okay for everybody. He didn't say it was based on gender, but he actually brought up a gender. So, yeah, he did. So, I don't know. Kind of really bothered me a lot.
Yeah, I think it bothered a lot of people. It's not that big of a deal to me. I think that swearing in the workplace in general, I mean, if we were to start dropping F-bombs here, I don't think it would go over well.
But he wasn't talking in general. He was saying it was worse for women. That's the whole difference.
Yeah, I
can't ignore that.
But part of it's generational. I think that part of it's generational. I think it's going to hurt him with women. I agree with you. I think it's going to hurt him with women when it comes to the election. I think there's a whole lot of other stuff that, with regard to his policies, that's going to hurt him with women a whole lot more. But I think that every time he opens his mouth of late, he puts his foot in it.
Yeah, look, I mean, Governor Huckabee is going to say anything that he thinks appeals to his base. It's as simple as that. Whether he means it or not. Look, I mean, that was a stupid remark.
Base, though?
Yeah,
nobody can really quantify it, but I'll tell you what, it's big enough that he'll probably win Iowa. How about that?
Because of the evangelical.
Iowa,
Yeah, he'll win the first penalty. It doesn't matter. He'll win the first penalty, and he'll be taken quasi-seriously. But I had him on my radio show on Saturday. And, he actually, on occasion, will make an intelligent point, but then he starts talking about this stuff where he actually told states they should ignore the Supreme Court if the Supreme Court gives us a ruling on same-sex marriage that the states don't like. Really? So now you've got a president running for candidate who's basically saying, insurrection, please. Ignore the Supreme Court. They actually don't have the right to make that decision. Really?
Right, but people aren't saying that. People are saying, well, he didn't really say that. Come on.
So he did say it.
Right. Yeah, people say, I don't know why people are trying so hard to defend this guy.
Welcome
it
to
makes
your
you
Republican
look bad
Party.
if you try to, hey, I'm a libertarian. So, don't call me that.
As far as the whole F-bombs and women using them, you brought up the point before, this will hurt him with women. By him criticizing women dropping F-bombs?
By him pointing out women specifically. Like I said, it's not a huge big deal to me, but it is a huge big deal. I saw Catherine tweeted about it today, and there was a huge response. There are a lot of people who say, why are you pointing me out? If I'm in the workplace with all the men doing the same thing men do, why can't I drop the F-bomb as well? I think to some people, that just perpetuates the idea that he is of a different generation that we can't relate to.
I'm trying to understand the Huckabee campaign so far. And what I've heard is what Rick brought up before, and a lot of Beyonce. That Beyonce's a problem, and Beyonce...
Well, right now, the campaign is his book. That's
really
the campaign.
Funny. It's just been, Beyonce must love it. If I were Beyonce, I would love it. I would love that kind of attention.
I wonder if Jay-Z liked the whole pimping out his wife thing, though.
Ridiculous. I don't know.
That's what he said. He said that Jay-Z was pimping out his wife, Beyonce.
You don't want to be using pimpy out. Ask David Schuster.
I'd punch him in the face if I were Jay-Z, but that's Jay-Z.
And yet you still think he'll win Iowa because that appeals to...
I do.
There's a lot of Beyonce fans in Iowa.
Probably not, yeah.
This is true.
Especially not in his party.
I think if you asked him, he would say he has a lot of respect for women. I think it's just a
everybody
totally different way.
Of course he would say that.
But I think it's just he thinks that he's being respectful. I think it's just a totally different paradigm.
He has calculated that the way he gets some gravitas in this is to pretend he's living in 1950.
Right.
He thinks that will appeal to the people he wants to appeal to. They long for a better time. I always love that. Better time. People never want to deal with their reality. People died in the 1950s of illnesses that are cured today with a shot. But they long for a better time. Well, that's what Mike Huckabee wants to bring them.
Interesting. Now, your potluck, Rick Unger. Let's hear it.
Well, first I should say I wouldn't be here except that I'm afraid of being fined. So that's number one. That said, I'm fascinated by this whole thing with Bibi Netanyahu. I think, and coming to give this speech, that he wasn't invited by the White House, that he was invited by the Speaker of the House. I think that in an election that is close at best in Israel, where his party is actually lagging right now, he may have made a critical political mistake.
By agreeing to speak before Congress.
By doing this. There are people I'm talking to in Israel, and right now, the way things work over there, his party is 1 vote behind in the polls in the Knesset. Now, what that means is he may not get the chance, if it turns out that way, to form the government. If the Labor Party can form a government, then he doesn't get the chance. He may still be prime minister if he can pull it together where they can't. But I know a lot of people in Israel that think he's making a huge mistake sticking his thumb in the eye of the President of the United States. Even if he doesn't like President Obama, I think we all understand it doesn't go well for Israel if we don't stay involved.
But Heather, President Obama hasn't exactly been a friend to Israel from what we've seen. He has.
He hasn't been a friend to Bibi Netanyahu, but he is a friend.
But he's the leader of Israel, so by proxy,
really?
Maybe Israelis.
Is Bibi Netanyahu a friend to America?
Yes.
And yet he hates our president. He's not a friend to President Obama.
I think they have a mutual dislike for each other.
It's the same thing. That's my point.
Yeah.
The thing about Netanyahu, though, is he's got the courage of his convictions. He believes that Iran is the ultimate threat to his country. And so because of that, he is willing to alienate Americans. He's willing to put that before.
Well, it'll work great.
Yeah. How's he going to
He
deal
cares
with
so
Iran
much.
without us?
I'm not saying that it's, what I'm
makes
saying
no
is
sense.
it's unusual to see this in a politician where they're transparent. He says, this is the first priority for me.
wasn't
Boehner
transparent
invited
to
him.
sneak
I mean, if
around.
there's a problem, it's really who extended the invitation.
Catherine?
It wasn't transparent to meet with John Kerry, like you wrote in your comment, and not bring it up that he was going to meet with Congress the next day. It didn't. That was my problem
Great
with it.
example.
That it
Talk
wasn't.
about not
That
being
it wasn't
transparent.
transparent. Is that it was so sneaky. Was what bothered me the most about it. I mean, this is so weird. So now we're fighting with Israel now also, and this weird internal struggle. We don't like Obama. He's this and he's that. I really think that everyone should just grow up and see kind of like the bigger picture.
And you're so right. I mean, how can you say they're transparent when the day before the announcement, the ambassador met with John Kerry and somehow forgot to tell him?
Yeah, but I'm not saying he's being transparent about what he's doing. He's transparent about why he's doing it. He has said
No, he's not.
straightforward.
He's doing it because he thinks it'll help him win an election.
And
Yeah, I
that
don't know
is the
about that.
last word, my friends.
As long as I got it, it's all good.
I just like the fact that his nickname's Bibby. I mean,
Bibi.
Bibby.
I have to teach you how to be Jewish.
Well, thank you. The Irish Catholic.
My
we'll
pleasure.
learn quite quickly.
We'll do it.
Coming up next, more political potluck on the Daily Wrap, only here on Newsmax TV. Stay tuned. Oh, that music feels like it's so important in this next segment. Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha, joined by Catherine Timpf, Rick Unger, Heather Hansen. Let's continue with Potluck. And I'm up. Thank you. And I love this story, by the way, because I wrote about it just today, so it's fresh in my head. Nicole Wallace, you may have heard of her. She's on The View. She's on Morning Joe a lot. She was on Letterman just a couple of nights ago. She's sat down with Andy Cohen. She's all over the place. She is a absolute celebrity. Let's hear her on The View talking about her favorite topic.
I really believe that if it looked like she were about to become the nominee, or heaven forbid, the leader of the free world, a whole lot of people would stand up and say a whole lot of things.
Yes, Nicole Wallace. That was The View, by the way, and get a good look at it, because from what I'm reading and what I'm hearing, that show is about to go bye-bye. They're thinking about taking Good Morning America and actually expanding it another hour because the ratings are so poor and they're paying so much money to these people and nobody apparently is watching. There's a big problem.
Michael and Kelly Ripa are right smack in between it.
Yeah.
They're on at 9 on all the O and O's. They're not going to be able to do it.
Oh, you don't think so? Okay, well, good. That's the rumor. But hey, look, you choose Rosie O'Donnell and you choose Rosie Perez and you have Whoopi, right?
Go figure they might not get along.
3 women in their 50s.
Right.
Okay, so it's the 1990s All-Star team, and then you take Nicole Wallace, who
Hey, be
literally
nice to people who are a little older. Watch it.
Okay,
Watch it.
I'll try. Thank you. Anyway, our next commercial break will be sponsored by Viagra, just so you're very familiar with that. Anyway, point being, Rick, this is my segment, by the way, so stop butting in. Okay, please? All right?
Oops.
Nicole Wallace, claim to fame, Heather, seems to be, every time I see her on all of these shows, the only time she gets ink, the only time that somebody reports on what she says is when she's trashing her former boss.
Listen, there's a fascination with Sarah Palin. We know it. We are aware of it. It's out there. You know, her talk at Iowa this past weekend, everybody's blowing up about that. But I think it's not fair to Nicole to say that that's the only time that she gets any attention. I think that when she's on some of these shows, she is really well spoken. I think she was a good choice for The View, just not with that particular group. She was thrown to the wolves without the experience to really deal with them. But you're right in that the attention is to Sarah Palin, and wherever she goes, attention follows. And Nicole's getting the benefit of that in some ways.
Catherine, I'm amazed that it's 7 years since we were introduced to Sarah Palin. 7 years. It's 5 years, 6 years since she's actually held public office.
Right.
And yet still, she's always a topic of conversation.
Well, yeah, but not about in terms of being in the public office ever.
No.
Never, ever.
She threw out that she may run for president.
That's
I think
funny.
we would
I mean,
also
she
do.
does that because people will talk about it. I don't think anybody takes her seriously. She doesn't take herself seriously.
She's like
does
the
she?
female Trump at this point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
maybe.
That's actually a very good
That's a really good
explanation.
comparison, actually. I think.
Yes.
Except that Trump
Thank
has a TV show that gets decent ratings. Sarah
Right.
Palin can't put a TV show on that gets any ratings.
It appears that way. Catherine?
I have a poster of her on my bedroom door on a horse, but it's ironic, you know. Like, I posted a picture of it on Twitter, and people were like, "Yeah, you guys are great." I'm like, "No, please, you know, she doesn't have any thoughts about any issues at all, other than she hates Obama."
But she's welcome to so many TV shows to spout them.
Because
It's
we're sitting here talking
fascinating.
about
But she's
it.
entertaining.
Exactly.
I
Well,
mean,
she's
it's
polarizing
entertaining.
and she gets
I
people
actually-
talking, no
That's right.
question. Rick, I'm sorry, we got to move
Oh,
on
I'm sorry.
to Heather's segment. And Heather, your potluck?
I want to talk about Romney and the fact that after 2012, he went out and built a home. He's building the home in La Jolla. He's got the house in Salt Lake City. He's got a house in Park City. And people are attacking him for it. And I'm wondering whether or not it is a liability to be successful when you're running for president.
Well, I don't understand because Hillary Clinton gets $250,000 per speech. Her husband earned over $106 million doing public speaking. How many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough? Romney is portrayed as Gordon Gekko,
Right.
but for whatever reason, Catherine, Hillary seems to get a pass.
He was sad, right? He lost the election. He doesn't drink, so
Wow.
he doesn't smoke. He doesn't
gotta
drink
build a home.
coffee, so he just buys houses. I don't know. It makes perfect sense to me.
Rick, you have multiple houses. I mean, do you apologize for your wealth?
Certainly not. And I don't have a problem with Mitt Romney's wealth, and I don't have a problem with how many houses he wants to buy. Couldn't care less. I think where he might get in trouble, though, is when he takes everybody else who doesn't have that, like that 47%, and says bad things about them. This might be a little bit more of an issue. Nobody ever cared that the Kennedys were rich.
Right.
Heather, last word.
But that's where it comes back to haunt him, because that 47% is going to carry him no matter where he goes. And when he has these houses, it looks like a real hypocrisy.
You know
That's
what the irony
problem.
is, though, and I'll end it on this. If you look at the last 5 presidential elections, nobody's gotten more than 53% of the vote.
No.
That's
So
right. That's
people
right.
are, that
Yeah.
47,
Get that
that's a very
53.
real
That's-
thing, and we have to end it there. Do you know what's trending? Well, I'll give you a hint. It involves a press conference and the NFL. Find out next on the Daily Wrap. It's only on Newsmax TV.